Dr. Michele Ross, I believe, is on our Zoom line right now. Is that accurate? Hello, Dr. Michele.
Hi there.
You're talking to Jimmy Young from Pro Cannabis Media and Alyssa Merrill from flowerandtonic.com. And you have a tough act to follow, Michele. I'm going to let you know right away. Dr. Peter Grinspoon was just on with us. I'm hoping that you know that name because his dad, Lester, was really one of the pioneers in cannabinoid medicine. And he passed away recently, but Peter is very well known in the Harvard community and in the medical community of cannabis as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I know of both of them, and Peter definitely has paved his own way in the cannabis community. And as an author, just like me, I definitely know of all of his work. So very cool to follow up with him.
There you go. There you go. It's not, Tom Brady, Cam Newton following up with Tom Brady, but it's close. Anyway, I digress to sports all the time. Alyssa's company, Flower and Tonic, reviews CBD products, has them tested, and she's my go-to CBD expert. So I'm hoping that the two of you can have a little chat about some of the challenges in this CBD industry. But tell us a little bit about yourself. I know that you are a neuroscientist and with fibromyalgia who helps women heal chronic pain with cannabis. That's the first page of your bio. I read very well. Anyway, yeah, tell us a little bit about you, your practice, and I guess you have a book out as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in this cannabis field for quite a long time. I actually was one of the researchers trying to study how to get people off of cannabis and other, addictive drugs, which we now know is not so addictive and actually has medical purposes. So I published my very first paper, goodness, like over 15 years ago, and then actually became involved in cannabis because I had family members that were sick and it could help. And then myself, I actually developed a whole bunch of different medical symptoms. I wasn't quite sure whether I had multiple sclerosis. I ended up with blood clots in my lungs, like so many different things over the years, and ended up with a fibromyalgia diagnosis. But cannabis was one of the things that really helped me. And so I pivoted my entire academic career, partly because I have been sick and I can't really do the same things I used to do as a scientist. I can't chop off heads off of animals or anything like that, with nerve damage and things like that. But I've really shifted all my work to helping patients with chronic pain, with mood problems, and really love working with women because, goodness, the medical system has stigmatized women so much. When they reach out for chronic pain, we're labeled as hypochondriacs and all sorts of things, or given so many different medications that don't really help us or, get us addicted to them, like opioids, for example, or even benzodiazepines. So for me, I have really spent most of my time creating educational online courses, books, programs. Really, I've helped train, goodness, a ton of the doctors and nurses and health coaches out there. So been really busy, been a vocal advocate, both in education and even in drug reform policy. So I've been in it sort of as one of the OGs, although I'm not that old, so I can never claim I'm quite as much of an OG as some of the people that have come, before me. But I've really dedicated my life to this.
All right,
Well,
Jimmy, we're all
fantastic.
set. You can leave now. You can go home early because Michele and I can talk all day right now.
I was going to, but I do qualify as the only OG, as the
Fine.
old guy,
No, but I'm thinking I know, like I'm excited because your name's come up many times and I've never had the pleasure of meeting that before. But I've been stuck, as a woman and I'm 46 at 47, hormones are real. And I did not know that. Until I got older and had 3 kids. And yeah, it's crazy how little I find the medical community is able to help and support that. So, but I've been stuck still trying to understand more about the endocannabinoid system and neurotransmitters and hormones and how they all everyone's like, oh, they dance together. I'm like, but how do they dance? So like, if I'm taking CBD, is it going to make my estrogen go higher or lower? It's going to balance. No, just don't tell me. I think, and I love, I think I had that also. I came from pharma. So very much of against all this kind of thing. I really was afraid of supplements. So I've had a complete change of perspective, which I think makes us a little more passionate and I get a little louder. But it sounds like, your experiences are kind of mirrored. So what do you, as a neuroscientist, is there information that that you want people to be more understanding or aware of? Is there a science that's going to help us understand more?
Well, I mean, cannabis and CBD products can impact so much of the brain and body. So, when it comes down to cannabis medicine, really, people have to understand it's personalized medicine. There's no like one product that will work for everyone. There's no one dose that will work for everyone. We're all so different. We have different genetics that influence how we respond to cannabis products. We all have a different medication history and different level of liver health. So that's why it's really important when somebody starts cannabis, really to consult an expert, because you never know really how you're going to react to some of these products or if you're using it right. I think that's why the near CBD gummies and everything is going to be cured and it's going to be great because it does all these amazing things. But it does if you use the right products at the right dose for you. And even those products can change, at different points in your life, depending on your different level of symptoms or as you go through changes or, as women, right? The doses that we might take, before pause and then menopause are going to be very different. We're going to have different, stages of our life and different needs of our cannabinoid system. So I think that, it's an ever-changing target, cannabis medicine. It's a lot more complicated than people think. But I do think that it's something that every person should learn about because we all have an endocannabinoid system and it definitely needs feeding.
So migraines, I feel like that's the thing that people are always coming to me about. Someone comes to you and they're like, I just think that women migraines, and now, my gosh, it's a major problem. So do you see, I'm not familiar exactly what you do, but like, are you looking at clinical trials? Like what would you tell someone who's suffering from migraines right now?
Sure. So a lot of the work I do, I actually work with a company called Very Heal doing cannabis consultations, as well as in my own practice. Again, I focus more on chronic pain patients, but I do see patients with migraines. And it's important to note that with migraines, it's really important to get consistent levels of cannabis in your system. So not just, okay, smoke a joint when you have a migraine. It's really important to try to prevent migraines if possible, because it's much easier to prevent them than it is to treat them. But we do know from the clinical research, including studies that have happened in the University of Colorado, that any amount of cannabis is helpful for migraines. So, whether you smoke it, you eat it, you take tinctures, well, maybe not the lotions. I don't think maybe putting in cannabis lotion is really going to help your migraine, but basically any form of ingestion is going to help. But I do suggest, for some patients it's CBD, for some patients it's THC, for some patients it's THC and CBD. There doesn't seem like to be a magic strain, for example, that somebody can smoke and say, this is the one for migraines. Everyone's a little bit different in how they treat migraine headache. But I do think that some amount of cannabinoids is helpful for almost all patients.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced and received feedback, and my only concern is like rebound. In my opinion, it's rebound that causes like potential addiction, or you have to take more medication to feel better. And I do think that that's, especially with migraines, when those come back, it's like, I think that was the safety in some of these prescription medications, right? Like they're long term. So has that been that's where I'm hesitant. So is there anything that you can recommend or suggest to people to avoid that?
Sure. Again, migraine headache isn't my area of deep expertise, but I would say taking something like microdosing, a 1-to-1 tincture with THC and CBD in it. That way you cover all your bases. If you take something like that in small amounts every day, 2 to 3 times a day, you're going to have low amounts of cannabinoids in your bloodstream, and you're going to actually restore an endocannabinoid deficiency that might be the basis of migraine headache. We actually do know that there's some disorders where there's different, imbalances, and the endocannabinoid system is an area where you can have imbalance. And so, feeding that endocannabinoid system, restoring that balance is going to prevent the onset of migraines. And if for some reason, one does come on board, again, what you can do is you can double your dose or triple your dose of what you were taking, whether it was smokable product, a drop, etc. But I think that really, again, it's about charting migraines. I've had a lot of patients see a decrease in the frequency and severity of their migraines. So, we haven't had too many patients that are going, oh goodness, we have more migraines after using cannabis. I do see it sometimes if they're smoking or they're not used to smoking, and it's actually the inhalation of, some of the toxins associated with cannabis smoke, like ammonia and things like that, that might be triggers for migraines. But for the most part, patients seem to do right as long as they're not using the wrong products.
Okay. You know, it was amazing to me, just little fun facts. I feel like everyone should know this. And I'm going to follow up. I would love you to share your favorite health tip. But what was amazing to me was I learned, because my house is a mess, and I was using Glade plugins because it looked messy, but it smelled good. And I had no idea how bad, like I had migraines all the time, and I unplugged those and immediately noticed an improvement. Yeah. Well, I mean, how do I not know that? Like, that's crazy. Like, that was kind of insane. But is there like one health tip that you wish everyone that, you just would love to get out there? That's your tried and true method that you use for pain or?
I mean, for me, it's about getting cannabis in there every single day, but also, like you said, it's about taking the toxins out of your environment. That's been a big one for me. You have no idea how many toxins are in there from, the lotions that you use. Like literally women are coating ourselves in these lotions. And then you look at the back of the label and you're like, goodness, you're absorbing all these different things. So if you can go and do like a spring cleaning of your bathroom, but like actually throw out the makeup that's not organic, the lotions that not organic, and you can start to like actually build some of these products yourself. Like a lot of lotions are honestly, it's like coconut oil or something, or cocoa butter. You can get a magical butter machine and like literally you can make CBD infused lotions. You can make all the products that you use, but in a safer, more organic way. And for me, cannabis does so much for fibromyalgia, for chronic pain, but if you don't get rid of the other things in your life that are toxic, it's like putting a Band-Aid but not treating the real problem. And so for most of us, it's like, yes, we have imbalances in our body. Yes, we can restore that balance, but we're always attacking our immune system or attacking, our detox system. Like we're going to be chronically ill. I'm sorry.
No, that's such good advice. Yeah. And isn't it funny when you come from like a background that's so different and then you're here and you're like, wow, it doesn't really matter what I'm eating. And yeah, it's very eye-opening, but.
Well, for me, as a fibromyalgia patient, it was sort of funny because I have this PhD in neuroscience, but as a scientist, I was dunking my hands in formaldehyde and like, touching all these toxins that like, goodness, 10 years later, I would have never even like looked at it without gloves on, and when you're in your 20s, you're sort of a superhero. And now I realize, what you put on your hands and what you put in your body is so important. And I sort of wish I could go back in time and not touched half the things that I did. And so for me, I'm hypersensitive to a lot of things. So really it is about having that clean environment, clean body, and clean cannabis. That's so important.
Like those memories of talcum powder and when my dad was getting ready in the morning, I'm like, oh my God, that was really bad for us,
Yeah.
Sorry.
I go to cornstarch. I'm going to raise my hand, Alyssa. Okay.
You may speak. Yes.
And I just want to ask her. So we recognize the benefits of plant medicine, and those of us who have enlightened ourselves about cannabis and the endocannabinoid system and the entourage effect and the terpenes that steer the various cannabinoids in each plant. I want to talk to you about diet, and I want to talk to you about the benefits of a plant-based diet, or is it like anything else, it's about balance in your diet? What has the best effect on your body and your metabolism in your body? And is it plant-based diets? Because I know a few vegans, let's just say.
It's interesting. I've explored personally different diets. I've been a vegan. I've been a vegetarian. Right now, I'm actually on the keto diet. So I am on the other end of the spectrum where I'm eating probably more meat and dairy products than I have in my entire life over the past 5 months. Wow. For me, it's not actually the content of what you're eating. I think it's important to reduce inflammatory compounds and reduce sugar, which of course is one of the biggest inflammatory compounds. So I know, you made the face. You're like the keto diet.
Oh my goodness, are everything.
But when you think about it, right? So sugar is really what's causing a lot of damage to our cells. It's, the foundation of why we have an obesity epidemic. So if you can reduce inflammation, you can reduce weight, you can reduce a lot of harms of the American lifestyle, on the diet, and feel healthier. For me, and for a lot of the patients that I work with, some of the standard, expected diets, like, okay, eat your veggies, the low carb diet, but, not going into ketosis like the keto diet, doesn't help them as much. They're still getting exposed to massive amounts of sugar that's lurking in our sodas or drinks, like everywhere. So a lot of patients follow healthy diets and don't feel better. So, they still have chronic pain, they still have stomach issues, even if they use cannabis, they're like, I don't feel 100% better. I thought this would all just go away. And for a lot of patients, it's really about refining their diet to the point where you've reduced all the amounts of inflammation. Some of us have genetics where we're always inflamed. Like,
Right.
we got the wrong deck of cards. For me, I've done that. I've done the 23andMe. I went through like hours of pouring in, saying, okay, well, I have this gene, I have this gene, I have this gene. I can't eat certain foods, even though I really, really want to. Or if I do this, the trade-off is I'm going to have to go exercise all the time. I'm going to have to do something. And you really have to sort of balance out, what are the benefits of this? Can I actually do this? And, is this worth it? Right? Like, some people can't live without eating donuts, right? When you're on the ketogenic diet, you actually have suppressed appetite, and you sort of lose a lot of the cravings, which is really interesting. You have a very clear focus and clear head, which is what some people say you see with a plant-based diet. Like, oh goodness, I got out all the toxins. Now I feel like much better and like motivated. But some people don't do good on a plant-based diet. Some people need more vitamins, or, they need the protein. I think that there's a diet that's right, or a couple diets that's right for each patient. I don't think that, plant-based is definitely the right way to go for all patients. But I think it really is something where you have to take a hard look at, what's right for your body. And I don't think that's a easy question. And I don't think that some of these diets, for example, like ketogenic diet, is not good for the long term. You can't be on this like 3 years unless you have a severe condition like epilepsy or something like that. I don't think it's great, but.
Well, what's crazy to me, so I recently, and I was like, okay, every hippie doctor is going to tell me to cut out gluten, dairy, and sugar. I get it. No, thank you. I want to live my life. But recently, I did have, testing done and cut out gluten, and I was wrong. Like, I feel like I definitely have some of that clarity back, but I did the testing to see it in black and white, where I would have never, ever. But I cut it out hardcore because it was just so there in black and white that there was a issue. But what was amazing is that I recently learned that a physician, and this is a physician, a Mass General physician who does private practice, they can't offer testing, like, to test your allergies or gut testing, things like that aren't covered by insurance. And that was, to me, where are you based out of? I should ask that first.
So I'm in Nevada.
Nevada. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. We don't have holistic doctors. We're in Massachusetts. But I don't know if that's a national type of thing, but that if it's not covered by insurance, like a mainstream doctor can't recommend a lot of this testing.
I'm not really clear about the legal things with that. I do know that, there's lots of naturopaths, I believe, in this state and in other states. I lived in California for 10 years before I moved here. I just moved to Nevada, so I don't know all the laws around here. I actually do. Most of my telehealth patients are actually on the East Coast. So, so I don't actually know the laws about Nevada, but there's a lot of take-home tests too. So, when patients are like, goodness, I want to learn more about my health. What are my vitamin D levels? What are my hormones? What are my allergens? Yeah. There are different companies like Everwell and things like that, where you can sort of take your health into your own hands, which, I do like, but I also do encourage patients to follow up with a clinician that knows what they're talking about. So they're not just like, oh, great, this is, what I think this is. And it's never what they don't understand test results. But I think it is important for everyone to know what their food sensitivities are. Goodness, it's like literally, if you think you have fatigue, for example, or pain, and it's like all you had to do was cut out eggs, for example. It's like, that's it.
How do you have people test for that? If you have a patient, where do you direct them? Do you do that testing or?
So I don't. So, I really believe in stay in your lane. So I'm a neuroscientist. I work as a health coach, and you have to be very careful about the things that you do recommend. So somebody wants testing like that, I would refer them out to a naturopath doctor or DO that, does those things. For me, I really do focus more on plant medicine. So things that don't require an MD, right? Talking about cannabis, talking about kratom, talking about medicinal and psychedelic mushrooms. That's really where I focus on. You have to be very careful because you can't practice medicine, obviously, without a license. That does get you in trouble in many states. So,
very much appreciate you saying that. Yes, thank you.
All right, my hand's up again. I'm going to ask a question of Dr. Ross here for a second, and I go back to your bio. It says here you were known for breaking boundaries as the first scientist to star in a reality TV series, and that had to do with Big Brother 11, the CBS series. Now, I'm not going to ask you about that, okay? What I am going to ask you about, however, is females and science. And, you know, for many, many years, a lot of times we wouldn't let the females look at the science world. And now I think we're starting to see more and more. Do you see yourself as a role model?
You know, I would hope so. When I was on the TV show, I was really trying to, you know, have some integrity. I know that there's many different ways to play reality TV games. Some people are lying, cheating, stealing. I really was on there being very honest. And after I got off the show, you know, I got a lot of emails and calls from mothers that were, you know, saying things like, this is the first time my daughter ever saw a scientist. She wants to grow up to be like you. It was really cute. So, you know, for me, I've always tried to, you know, be in that role. For myself, I never actually met another female scientist until I was, 21 years old. I was working an internship at UMass Worcester, actually, and I finally met a female scientist. There was none in my college, which was really weird. I went to Boston College. And I think it's really important. If you don't see that, you know, somebody who looks like you, who is doing the job that you want, it doesn't even come into your head that you could be that, right? I didn't even know scientist was a job until I had seen somebody do that. I really thought only medical doctors was a thing. And that's actually what I went to college for, to be an MD. And then I realized I could be a scientist. This is a thing. People study the brain. This is really cool. So, you know, being able to inspire, you know, some women out there, hopefully some young girls out there, to actually be a scientist was a cool thing.
There you go. I like that, because I know that Alyssa's the mother of 3 girls. So I'm always thinking about that.
I love what you're doing. And
thank you.
Just wonderful things. So.
Well, how can people, so you are the CEO of Infuse Partners. How would people get in touch with you in case you would like them to come on to, you know, a webinar or interviews or stuff like that?
Sure. Well, you can find me on Instagram or Twitter at Dr. Michele Ross. So that's DrMicheleRoss, or at drmichelleross.com.
There you go. Boy, I like that when it's so simple. You know, I like it when it's so simple, when it's your name or whatever. But again, I really appreciate you taking the time out this Monday and talking with Alyssa and myself about this. And obviously, you've done quite well. Now, I'm going to give you a little hint. You say you just moved to a new state, right? Say that state again.
Yes. Nevada. I know it's probably not even how you say it. So I'm from New Jersey. I say everything wrong. So.
Well, okay. So I was born in New Jersey, so I can relate. Okay. But it's Nevada. And I got reprimanded when I was flown out to run a workshop there. And I'm calling it Nevada because to me it sounds much cooler to be Nevada. But it's Nevada. And they made They made it very clear to me. And I thought I'd give you that hill. And I say that in a friendly way, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, and I normally just say Las Vegas. So there we go. I have to go to like little training, you know, I have to reprogram my brain to say it the correct way. So
no, that's quite all right. I just thought it would be fun to end it that way. But Dr. Michele Ross, thank you so much for coming on today on our Cannabis Chat Medicinal Monday show.
We are Pro Cannabis Media.